Maame Ama sank into her chair defeated. The laughter and whispers from the women in the market floated through her window, reminding her yet again of the mistake she had made. If only she had listened. Just 6 months ago, her wedding to Kumi was an event of the season. She had worn an elegant kente gown woven with golden threads. Her multi-layered necklaces and bangles announced her status as a bride worth showing off. Kumi looked smart in his traditional kente robe and sandals. He arrived driving a Mercedes. And as he stepped out, onlookers gasped at the obvious wealth and taste he possessed. Their ceremony was lavish, befitting a husband of Kumi's stature. Their food and music reflected the best that money could buy. Kumi gifted her a luxurious house and promised her a life of leisure as his cherished wife. In those first blissful weeks, Maame Ama thought she had everything she had ever wanted. Her girlhood dreams of comfort, status, and romance had all come true. She made sure to let her friends know how wise she had been able to wait for the perfect husband. But soon, things began to change. Small things at first. Kumi started delaying payment to vendors and servants. He stopped sending money to help his relatives in the village. He began arguing over every little expense. Eventually, the Mercedes was gone, repossessed for lack of payment. Their fancy cook and housekeeper were let go. The elaborate outfit and jewelry that had once dazzled their wedding guests disappeared from Maame Ama's closet, sold off to settle debt. Kumi started disappearing for days at a time, then weeks. When he returned, his moods were dark and angry. He snapped at Maame Ama over petty grievances and sometimes didn't come home at all. Soon, the truth became unavoidable. Kumi was not the wealthy man he had pretended to be. Everything he flaunted to win Maame Ama's affection had been borrowed or staged. Underneath the flashy exterior had been nothing but debt and desperation. As word spread, the laughter started. Everywhere Maame Ama turned, she heard gossip and ridicule. After all her bragging and pride, she had been made the biggest fool in town. Even her own mother clogged her tongue, reminding her of the warning she had arrogantly ignored. Why hadn't she listened? Plenty of decent men had shown interest in her over the years, men of substance and integrity, who cared more about her goodness than her beauty. But she had dismissed them as boring, not glamorous enough for her ambitions. How many times had her own mother advised her to look beyond the surface and choose a husband of genuine worth? How often had her friends hinted that a man of Kumi's age could have achieved more by now if he were truly as successful as he pretended? But no, she had stubbornly followed her heart instead of wisdom. She was so sure she knew best, and now here she sat in a nearly empty house without a husband or hope, trying to block out the echoes of "I told you so." If only she could go back 6 months and whisper in her own ear at the engagement party. She would grip her younger self by the shoulders and plead, "Don't let my foolishness become yours. This facade will crumble. The riches are an illusion. Listen to those who truly care for you." But it was too late. The deed was done, the words spoken, the promises sealed. All that remained was bitterness and regret. Maame Ama rose wearily from her chair. She could not change the past, but the future. Perhaps there was still hope to rebuild. Starting over would not be easy, but she was still young and strong. With humility and courage, she might yet find purpose. She had been brought low, but now was the time to learn, grow wiser, and walk forward on surer footing. The laughter might stalk her for a while yet, but she would meet it with quiet dignity of one determined to learn from her mistakes. She picked up her water jug and headed for the door. There was no changing yesterday, but tomorrow waited. At this time, she would approach it with open eyes. Maame Ama took a deep breath as she stood up from her chair. She had learned her lesson the hard way. Do not judge by appearances alone. Though humiliated, she resolved to start over with humility and wisdom. Pride goes before distraction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. She whispered to herself. She would no longer let vanity and ambition cloud her judgment. From now on, she would value inner character over outward charm. Leaving the past behind, Maame Ama stepped outside with determination. She had made mistakes, but did not have to remain defined by them. With patience and courage, she would rebuild her life on a foundation of modesty and virtue. Though the journey ahead would not be easy, Maame Ama felt hopeful for the first time in weeks. She had been foolish, but now was wiser. If she learned from this hard lesson, she could still make of her life something good and honest. It was not too late to walk in a truer path. Head held high, Maame Ama made her way to the market. The whispers still echoed, but she did not have to let them crush her spirit. With grace and dignity, she would show this time what a woman of her real value looked like. Her proud days were done, but her best self was still ahead. At first, Maame Ama felt too ashamed to face her mother and friends after everything that had happened. She had arrogantly ignored their warnings and feared they would reject her. But to her surprise, when she finally gathered courage to visit her mother, she was welcomed with open and forgiving arms. Her old friends too offered comfort and support, not condemnation. They had seen her mistakes, but still loved her as one of their own. Their steadfast loyalty humbled Maame Ama deeply. She did not deserve such kindness after disregarding their wisdom for so long. With the help of the people she had ignored, Maame Ama found the strength to start fixing her life. Her mother helped her find work and a modest place to live. Old friends rallied around her with encouragement and care. Their faith in her, even after she had turned a deaf ear to their pleas, filled Maame Ama's heart with gratitude. She now saw that true family and friends stand by you in even your darkest hours. As she moved forward with her life, Maame Ama nurtured those bonds closely. She often thought back to their unheeded warnings with regret, but she promised herself never to make that mistake again. From now on, she would cherish their voices of reason and experience. Thanks to their loving forgiveness, Maame Ama gained not just a second chance, but the wisdom to make the most of it. With humility and courage, and with the support of those who had her best interests at heart, her future looked bright once more. After leaving Maame Ama, Kumi's life continued on a downward spiral. His web of lives and debts caught up with him, and he had to go into hiding to avoid angry creditors. Kumi kept moving around to different places. He worked odd jobs where he got paid cash, but Kumi still liked to spend too much money. He always got into trouble. No matter where Kumi went, people saw that under his fancy clothes, he had no money. His health and appearance deteriorated with his deepening poverty. The fine clothes were long gone. His confident charm faded. He became a shadow of his former self, broke, sickly, and isolated. Kumi's fate served as a cautionary tale around town. Mothers would point to him as a warning to their daughters. See what becomes of men who live by lies and deception. Do not be dazzled by gold and glitter. Though Kumi tried to reinvent himself in new towns, his reputation always preceded him. People whispered and stared, recognizing the infamous fraudster beneath the surface. In the end, he had no one to blame but himself. His lust for status and greed had destroyed every opportunity life gave him. He reaped exactly what he had sown over the years. Meanwhile, the woman Kumi had treated badly started to do well again. While Kumi's life got worse, Maame Ama worked hard to fix her reputation. The reversal of fortune was a sobering reminder that true character, not wealth, is what counts in the end. Maame Ama emerged wiser and stronger, leaving Kumi behind as a warning lesson. What do you think? The moral of the story is clear. Whenever we are making important decisions, we should always look beyond the surface. Also, no matter what happens to us in life, we should remember that all hope is not lost. We can always reinvent ourselves and bounce back much stronger. Thanks for watching Baffo Tales. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe for more cool stories. And we will see you on the next thrilling adventure. Bye bye.